Week 1 is almost in the books, and it's time for us to reflect and see what happens. I had 71% of my running backs finish inside of the top 24, which is 17 total, possibly adding another tonight with Aaron Jones, depending on how he finishes. Not too bad for Week 1. We've got all sorts of matchups to cover for Week 2. Going to give you my rankings as well as my streamers that I like this week. Should you need to pick someone up off waivers, you might want to stash some of these guys, maybe as a handcuff. But be sure to check out the Discord where you're going to have updated rankings throughout the week on all the positions, including my running back rankings as we get more information and go through the week. But let's get straight to it. The names in Tier 1 are going to be pretty consistent. We're starting off with Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Chase Brown. And when we reflect back, those top three names had fantastic weeks. Christian McCaffrey went for 22 attempts with 69 yards on the ground, added 10 targets with 9 receptions and 73 yards. Absolute monster PPR day, 23.2 points. And he gets to take on the New Orleans Saints this weekend, who allowed 108 yards to running backs alone this past week when they took on the Arizona Cardinals. So I expect Christian McCaffrey to absolutely feast this coming week. And that's why he's my RB1. I don't think that's going to change. He's going to be involved all over the places. We saw injury to George Kittle. We'll see what happens with that as we move forward. Ricky Pearsall certainly stepped up, but Christian McCaffrey is going to have to shoulder the workload. I'm not too worried about the hamstring injury or the calf injury that was going on earlier in the week. I know a lot of people were kind of flustered about that, but don't let that make you too concerned. When we look at Derrick Henry, there's no other words than wow. I mean, he was the RB1 on the week pending Monday Night Football, 29.2 points, had 18 carries for 169 yards and 2 touchdowns. Absolute monster week. He gets to take on Cleveland. For me, he's the RB2. I mean, he's just going to get his opportunities. He's going to perform. He's a fantastic player, and there's no reason for you to be scared at all with Derrick Henry going forward. Bijan Robinson at the 3 for me, 12 for 24. Big play came early for him. 7 targets, 6 receptions, 100 yards through the air, and added a touchdown. 24.4 points on the week. Looking like he's going to finish as RB2. He looks fantastic. Gets to take on the Minnesota Vikings on Sunday Night Football this coming week. We'll see what happens with the Vikings defense and what goes on there, but Bijan looks like a safe play. He is the guy. Moving on to Barkley at the 4 spot for me. He had a great week. I think it's just a little bit overshadowed since he played first and these other running backs played well. The run game is king in Philadelphia, guys, and it's going to continue to stay that way. We saw A.J. Brown with a disappointing outing. Devontae Smith didn't necessarily put up a ton of points, but Saquon looked great. 18 for 60 on the ground with a touchdown, added 5 targets with 4 receptions for 24 yards, taking on Kansas City. Expect them to score some points this coming week. Jahmyr Gibbs at the 5 spot, that's kind of the outlier. I mean, the Lions this week coming back did not look the same. Ben Johnson is out of town, and it certainly affected this team. They struggled throughout the entire game. And when we look at his box score, he had 9 carries for 19 yards, but he added 10 receptions for 31 yards. I mean, that's a fantastic week PPR-wise, but the yardage just simply wasn't there. The touchdowns were not there. Again, this team struggled all over the place. Everyone was playing poorly. I expect the Lions to bounce back and kind of hit them in the mouth next week. And Dan Campbell will lean on that run game. I think there's better days ahead for the Detroit Lions. So I'm comfortably keeping him in my top 5 until otherwise because he has the talent and the skill set to continue to produce as we move forward. In closing out this tier, guys, we have Chase Brown again, who had a solid week. 21 attempts, 43 yards, not a bunch of yardage, but he added a touchdown with 2 receptions. Continues to be key for this offense. 13.1 points. Not the best finish, but I think he's going to be better, more active this week when the Cincinnati Bengals take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's going to close out my tier 1. These guys are staples, and we're just going to keep continuing on, and we'll get straight to my tier 2, which might have some surprise names. We'll see. Starting off with Bucky Irving at the 7 spot, Devon Achane at 8, Jonathan Taylor at 9, Josh Jacobs at 10, James Conner at 11, and Breece Hall closing out this tier. Now, as you guys know, I'm a huge Bucky believer. 14 for 37, added 4 catches through the air and a touchdown. Fantastic to see. I love to see Bucky Irving getting involved in that way. That was a really weird game. If you watched it, it was all over the place. He had 14.5 points on the week, gets to take on the Houston Texans on Monday night. I expect better days for Bucky ahead, but that game was just weird. There's no other way to describe it. The lead changes, the replays at the goal line, all sorts of things happen in that game. But Devon Achane at the 8 spot. Now, this is interesting because Devon Achane is clearly the only startable Dolphin, in my opinion, right now. That offense was in shambles. They did not look good. He is everything for this team. 7 attempts for 55 yards and a touchdown. Added 3 catches for 20 yards, 16.5 points. Solid week for him. Takes on the New England Patriots. I think he's going to continue to be the guy in this offense as we move forward. And with our next pick there, guys, it's going to be Jonathan Taylor. A really solid week. Tough matchup this week. This week he's matched up with the Denver Broncos. I expect the Denver Broncos to continue to be a stingy and stout defense. But that being said, looking back at Jonathan Taylor's week, 18 attempts for 71 yards, no touchdown. I think he'll get some coming forward. Added 3 catches for 27 yards throughout the air. It is worth noting that they kind of allowed a little bit more runway, in my opinion, for DJ Giddens, who had, I believe, 40 yards on the ground this past week. Not that he's eating into Jonathan Taylor's workload, so don't stress out too much about that. But it's worth noting that they're going to try and spell him if they can, so watch for that to continue. Josh Jacobs at the 10 spot, solid week for him. 19 carries for 66 yards, added the touchdown, went with 1 catch for 4 yards. He was rolling last week. I think he's going to be another fantastic player. The Packers looked really good, demolished the Lions. But he takes on Washington on Thursday night, so it's a short week. Washington was pretty stout this past week versus the run, really shut down Tyrone Tracy, and it did not allow Russell Wilson to kind of explore that pass game and expand the field. But that's also in part because of Russell Wilson. But that being said, I think Jacobs is going to be a fine play. I have him here comfortably in my top 12. So be safe with starting Josh Jacobs this week. Now, number 11 is James Conner, who had a solid outing as well. I mean, not a ton of yardage, but he got the touchdown, which really saved your week. 12 carries for 39 yards, added 4 catches for 5 yards, caught a little flip pass there, or a little shovel pass to get in the end zone. Taking on the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers were terrible against the run this past week. So if there's any consolation, I expect James Conner to be more involved. Now, again, just like we talked about with Jonathan Taylor, it is worth noting that Trey Benson had some opportunities, and he had a big play where he performed with the limited opportunity he got. So I do expect this offense to continue to allow Trey Benson to work into that lineup and get some more opportunities and go from there. Now, closing out this tier, guys, one of my favorite players that I've talked a lot about all this offseason, that's going to be Breece Hall. Running back for the New York Jets, fantastic game. I cannot emphasize enough. It was a great game for him. 19 carries for 107 yards, added 2 catches for 38 yards. And the key here is volume, folks. This is a run-heavy offense. They're using Justin Fields in the RPO game, in the read option game, and Breece Hall is the benefactor there. Yes, they brought in Braylon Allen, and he had some run. He had some opportunities, but Breece Hall was the clear running back, in my opinion. If you watch the tape, if you watch the game, you could see Breece Hall was electric through the hole, multiple carries of 7, 8, 9, 10 yards. He looked really, really good. I'm excited for Breece Hall going forward. He continues to be a guy that I think is going to be involved in the passing game as well. It's worth noting Braylon Allen didn't have a single catch. Breece Hall had all the targets out of the backfield, and that's what I expected going into the week. Had 16.5 points per the game. Looking forward, he takes on the Buffalo Bills, who gave up a ton of rushing yards. Yes, it's Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, but Breece Hall has a chance to expose that a little bit. If Justin Fields can kind of run the ball like Lamar did, maybe Garrett Wilson continues to be involved. I expect Breece Hall to show up here often for me. He's been a big buy for me this offseason, so I was really excited to see the fantasy finish of RB10 as it stands right now for him. I had him higher than expert rankings consensus this past week, so really excited for that. But let's just carry on, and we'll get to our next tier and our tier 3 here, guys. And that's going to be James Cook, Kyron Williams, Chuba Hubbard, Ashton Genty, Alvin Kamara, and Aaron Jones to close out tier 3 for me. And the big play here is James Cook. Had a fantastic week. It's tough not to bump him higher in these tiers, but just given the fact of the names around him, I like the other names. I think they might have higher ceilings. James Cook had 13 carries for 44 yards and 1 touchdown. Big bump here for him comes with 5 catches for 58 yards. Buffalo continued to do what they did last year, where they split that workload, worked in everyone else. Ty Montgomery had some opportunities. Ray Davis had some opportunities, and I think they're going to continue to do that. They want fresh legs all the time. Josh Allen is going to get his opportunities. They tried sneaking at the goal line with him multiple times, so that's going to be something that's going to shark James Cook at times. His finished last year was inflated by those touchdowns. So don't be surprised if Buffalo continues to try and use Josh Allen, some of these other guys, and work them in that way. But he's still a great play taking on the Jets this week. I think he's going to be just fine. Buffalo did struggle to keep up pace with the Ravens, but what a comeback, man. There's no way to look past that. Josh Allen played phenomenal. James Cook played really well too. But my next player in this tier, guys, is Kyren Williams, taking on the Tennessee Titans this week, a stout defense, but Kyren was just what Kyren was last year. 18 attempts for 66 yards, added a touchdown, had 2 catches for 3 yards, so not much there, but he still gives you something. 13.9 points on the week. Tennessee gave up all sorts of yards on the ground. Yes, I said they're a stout defense, but they still gave up some big plays to R.J. Harvey. J.K. Dobbins had some run there, so maybe Kyren Williams and this McVay offense can continue that momentum, continue to roll forward. So I expect that to happen. Kyren's going to be one of those safe plays. He'll have a couple spike weeks where he can win you the week, but generally speaking, I think he's the guy that scores between 13 to 16 points consistently for you, which is fantastic for our lineup. So it's worth noting. And looking at our next running back, guys, it's going to be Chuba Hubbard at 15 for me. 16 carries for 57 yards this past week. Added a couple catches for 32 yards and a touchdown. 17.9 points on the week. Fantastic outing for him. Worth noting that Rico Dowdle was basically non-existent in this offense. Chuba Hubbard is the guy. They paid him this past season. A lot of people thought, well, maybe Rico's going to get a little bit of run since he looked good last year. Nope, did not happen. Chuba is the guy. He's going to get plenty of opportunities going forward. This offense was frankly putrid, and that it has to be stated. They were not good at all. But Chuba Hubbard was the lone bright spot for the Carolina Panthers, and I think they're going to have to use him and establish the run. What we know is this offensive line, not the best pass protection, but they're pretty good in run blocking, and they are an expensive offensive line too. And I think as long as Chuba can get that opportunity to, get through the hole, he'll ground and pound his way to 60 to 70 yards each week, just getting 3 yards in a cloud of dust. So be comfortable starting Chuba Hubbard, especially if he's your RB2 or maybe your flex play. I think he's going to be fantastic going forward, taking on the Arizona Cardinals. So a little bit better of a matchup this week, I think. So I'm comfortable playing Chuba Hubbard in my lineup. Don't be scared of anything about that Carolina Panthers offense. But if you have Bryce Young or the pass catchers, that's another story. But continuing on, I've got Ashton Jeanty at my RB16. Now, this fell in line with what I was thinking before. I had Ashton Jeanty lower than consensus ranking last week, and I'm probably going to have him lower this week too. Sitting here at 16, I think it's one of those things where he's going to have to work into that role. He's a fantastic player, and he's going to be great long-term. But as it stands right now, I think it's not quite there yet. 19 carries for 38 yards and 1 touchdown, added a catch for a couple yards. It's what we've preached about all offseason. The price of Ashton Jeanty with a first-round draft cost was just simply too expensive. I think the Chargers matchup this week at taking on Chargers on Monday Night Football, that's a stout matchup. The Chargers looked really, really good this past week, shut down Isaiah Pacheco, did not allow a run game to really get established outside of Patrick Mahomes. I don't think Geno is going to have the ability to extend that pocket quite like Patrick Mahomes. I do think that Ashton Jeanty is better than Isaiah Pacheco. Absolutely, that goes without saying. But that being said, I still think it's going to be a little bit of tougher matchup for him, and I expect better days as the season goes along. But right now, I just think we simply need to step back and allow him to ease into that role. And closing out this tier, we've got Alvin Kamara at 17. Again, Alvin Kamara is the Saints offense. They're not good at all, so you need to be prepared for that. If you have Alvin Kamara, there's a real chance he could provide you a dud week. Now, volume is king, and we know that in fantasy football. 11 opportunities on the ground for 45 yards, added a couple catches through the air for 12 yards. 13.7 points on the week did not kill you, but going forward, you have to acknowledge that this Saints team is not good. So we'll have to see. And he takes on San Francisco with a rebolstered defensive line. They played pretty good, not a bad team there. So I expect Alvin to do what he does, get plenty of opportunity, but the Saints team is probably not going to do too much. So beware. And closing out the tier for me, it's Aaron Jones at 18. Obviously, he's playing tonight, so I do not have stats to provide for you. So we'll have to see. But next week, he takes on the Atlanta Falcons. I like the matchup. I think there's opportunity for him. We saw what Bucky did did some stuff through the air, did some stuff on the ground. Aaron Jones is fantastic at that. It sucks that I don't get to tell you how much Jordan Mason impacted Aaron Jones because we'll have to see. Like I said, I have him in my top 24 this week, and I have him in my top 24 in week 1. So we'll see what happens with Aaron Jones. Rankings might get adjusted accordingly based on what we see tonight. But as it stands right now, I still believe in Aaron Jones. I think he's going to be fine going forward. So don't panic too much. Stay tuned. Check the Patreon. Check out the Discord if you want to see how I feel about Aaron Jones going forward after tonight's game. Looking at tier 4, it's finally here, guys. I'm excited to talk about this tier. There's so much to break down. Tony Pollard to start us off, Amarian Hampton, Travion Henderson, David Montgomery, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, a.k.a. Bill, and Jaylen Warren. This tier might be the most fun tier, in my opinion, because it's names that a lot of people have either doubted or just kind of not necessarily the sexy pick. But looking at Tony Pollard, 18 for 60 on the ground, added a catch for 29 yards, took on Denver, a tough matchup, but volume, guys. Going to keep preaching that. Tajay Spears is on IR. They gave Julius Chestnut a little bit of run at the goal line and some other opportunities, and it didn't amount to anything. So Tony Pollard's going to be the guy going forward, taking on the LA Rams on Sunday. Still a tough matchup, but at the same time, again, I'm chasing that volume. I'm comfortable with Tony Pollard. I think he's going to be great for our teams going forward. If he can find his way in the end zone, if Calvin Ridley can, catch a few of those passes that he dropped this past week, maybe Cam Ward gets a little bit more help from some of his pass catchers. It was just a struggle bus for him. That game was ugly. It wasn't pretty, but I expect better days ahead for the Tennessee Titans, especially Tony Pollard in these first 3 to 4 weeks where he is going to be the sole guy. Next up is Amarian Hampton for the Chargers. He went 15 for 48, 8.1 points, added a couple catches. The volume, I don't know how much it's going to uptick. I think it's going to be about the same. Najee Harris is going to have a role. We saw him get some opportunities. I expect him to continue to get worked in. He's got a better matchup this week taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. So I like that matchup. I like the opportunity. Maybe he can find his way in the end zone. But at the same time, it's worth noting that Najee's role, I expect to continue to uptick. We saw him make some rookie mistakes, and that's okay. You got to learn somehow. But Amarian Hampton is going to be a better player as he adjusts towards the NFL. At RB21 for me is Travion Henderson, taking on the Miami Dolphins, who frankly looked terrible. This past week, he had 5 carries for 27 yards, added 6 receptions for 24 yards. The New England Patriots struggled against the Las Vegas Raiders in week 1. Should be a better game for them taking on the Dolphins. They played from behind before. Maybe they can get a little bit better. And Miami was not very good against the run either. So I expect Travion Henderson to have a better day. The 11.1 points, not a terrible week 1, but I think he can do better for our lineups going forward. Now, moving on to our next pick, guys, David Montgomery. This is another one back to like what we talked about with Jahmyr Gibbs. This Lions team struggled. They missed Ben Johnson heavily. They could not do anything literally at all. They struggled to do running, passing, moving the ball down the field. It was just uncharacteristic from what we've seen with this Detroit Lions team. And I expect Dan Campbell to go back to his roots and run the ball. And that's going to be with Jahmyr and with his hammer, David Montgomery. He had 11 opportunities for 25 yards, added 4 catches for 18 yards, 8.3 points on the day. Not great, but I think they're going to bounce back. I mean, we can't expect this Lions team to look lost at all times. They're taking on the Chicago Bears. Right now, the Bears are playing tonight on Monday Night Football. Their 3 best defenders are not playing. We'll have to see if they're going to play next week. Don't know yet. Don't have that information. So this is subject to change. So be sure to be in the Discord where we can talk about this, and I'll have my updated rankings posted in there. Now, time for 23, my favorite prospect all offseason. I feel like I've talked about him so much. Ja'Cory Bill Krosky-Merritt finds his way into my top 24, and I'm so pumped to talk about this. He had 10 carries for 82 yards and a touchdown, added 1 target, didn't amount to a catch, but he looked explosive. He dominated series at times. He dominated carries at times. I think he's going to be a great combo with Austin Eckler, who's going to continue to have a role, but it's worth noting Chris Rodriguez was a healthy scratch. At the beginning of the preseason, after B-Rob was traded, a lot of people thought that Eckler and Rodriguez would be the 1-2. Rodriguez was rumored to start at times, but here we are. A healthy scratch is worth noting. This team believes in Ja'Cory. He provided the spark. The run plays he had, he was making people miss. He was advancing the ball forward, a couple big first down runs. So I love the opportunity for Jacory going forward. He takes on the Green Bay Packers, not the best matchup. We did see them shut down Green Bay, but at the same time, I'm going to trust the player. I'm going to trust the playmaker. I think he's going to be fine going forward. 14.2 points on the week. I have him in my top 24 here at 23. Love him going forward. Now to close out tier 4, guys, I have Jaylen Warren. And I'm not sure we could talk about a player that was slept on more than Jaylen Warren. Obviously, the Pittsburgh Steelers added Caleb Johnson, who, as of right now, going into Monday night, has the worst running back performance out of any running back in the entire NFL. -2 yards on the week with only 1 attempt. So he got virtually no opportunity. Jaylen Warren dominated the backfield, 11 carries for 37 yards. 2 for 22 through the air and a touchdown. Jaylen Warren is going to be the guy going forward. Gets to take on the Seattle Seahawks this week. I like Jaylen Warren. I like his opportunity. He was great value in drafts, and I think he's a great value right now. He sneaks in my top 24, so we'll see how he goes going forward. Now, to close out the stream, we have to talk about it. It's week 1. Don't overreact too much. If you lost, there are better days ahead. But at the same time, we've got to be looking at those waiver wires. Go out there and see who's on the waivers. I'm just going to mention in passing, Jacory is rostered in only 82% of leagues, I believe. So if you're in those random 18% of leagues, go grab him now. You need to. But at the same time, let's talk about some guys that aren't rostered or are rostered in close to half or less than. And let's get straight to it. Braylon Allen, running back for the New York Jets. Yes, I talked about how Breece Hall is one of my favorite players of all this offseason. He's rostered in 52% of leagues over on Sleeper. That number has been adjusted. I think overall he's rostered in 54% of leagues. He's a premium handcuff. He had 6 carries for 9 yards, added a touchdown. Again, it's worth noting he didn't have any passing work. A lot of that is simply due to Breece Hall and what he brings to the table. But at the same time, I think he is a priority add as a Breece Hall manager, or as just a team that's, hey, I needed a shot on a running back because they were giving him opportunities. He had some chances down near the goal line. He obviously got the 1 touchdown. So Braylon Allen is someone that should be on our radar. Next, Trey Benson, rostered again around 54% of leagues total, on Sleeper. I think as of right now, when I pulled this, he was rostered in 50% of leagues. 8 carries for 69 yards, added 1 reception on 1 target. He had a great week. A lot of those yardage came on 1 play where I think it was for about 50 yards or so. But he, again, was getting the opportunity. It's worth noting James Conner, older running back, has an injury history. There's possibility that he could be someone that could spell you at times. Maybe becomes a flex play as the season goes on. Younger talent, you never know. And to close out here, I've got DJ Giddens. DJ Giddens, running back for, running back for the Indianapolis Colts, rostered in only 11% of leagues. He had 12 carries for 41 yards. He's another guy that's a premium handcuff. They've committed to this rookie, and I think it's worth noting that Jonathan Taylor also has a similar injury history. I mean, a lot of people give Kenneth Walker, flack for him missing time. Jonathan Taylor has missed almost the exact same amount of time over that same period. So DJ Giddens to me is someone that should be on our radars, probably rostered in higher than 11% of leagues. He's got opportunities. If he continues to get 12 carries every single week, which we know this Colts team is going to want to run the ball. That's a strength of theirs. Daniel Jones played better this week. I think that can continue to progress. Maybe we see some more action from the passing game. But as it stands, that run game is going to be the lifeblood of the Colts. Jonathan Taylor is going to help move this team. Maybe Giddens is a formidable guy that can take some pressure off JT, give him some reps, give him some snaps, and let him have an opportunity to make some plays. But that's going to do it for me. Those are my streamers for this week, my top 24. Be sure to check us out on the Face Off Sports Network. If you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and do that. The link for the Discord will be in the description. Get in there. You can join for free. We've got premium tiers with access to all sorts of rankings and content that you can get. Direct access to us in the Discord is free too. You can talk to us. We're in there all the time talking about fantasy football, answering your questions. Be sure to catch the Mediators Route live on Wednesdays. We're live throughout the week as the Face Off Sports Network. All sorts of content. We'll see you in the next one.